Okay, Kevin Green was very limited today, the individual with an ankle. Josh Shaw had an issue this morning with his back, so he wasn't able to go. Nate Gertler has a hamstring, so he couldn't go. Jesse Scroggins, hip, re-aggravated his hip, so he was not able to go. Robert Woods did very little with his ankle. And out for spring, most likely, are Torrin Harris, Christian Hayward, John Katnick, Kyle Negretti, Christian Thomas, Chad Wheeler, Devontae Wilson. And during practice, Xavier Grimble and Junior Palme came out and did not return. Thoughts from the first day, I thought there were some really good things. You know, just thinking back to 2 years ago, being on the same field, I think we've come a long ways as you look around at our players, the way they look and how they run. And so I think it's a head credit, obviously, to our assistant coach for recruiting, but a lot to our strong staff. I think that our guys look really good. Obviously, we have some depth concerns in a number of spots. And as far as, you know, the MVP of the day probably was George Farmer. Really, you know, to see him healthy out here and the way that he caught the ball today and his confidence is very different than the last time we were with him. So obviously that was great to see.
I know it doesn't change the way you prepare, but just not having that dark cloud hanging over you guys anymore, knowing that these guys are out here preparing for something bigger than they've been able to play for in the last 2 years.
I think it's refreshing, really, to our fans, you know, and to our players, but it doesn't change anything that we do. You know, we're not all of a sudden prepare any different and, you know, coach our players any different or get ready for opponents any different. You know, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing.
Would you say it was a different feeling this year, though? It was a song blasting on the speakers. I get a good feeling. Seemed representative of how the players are feeling today.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily the whole thing. I think that's just in general. I think they feel good about themselves. They feel confident because they came off of ending the season very well. And a number of the returners were significant players, some All-Americans. So that's very different than the year before, you know, or especially 2 years before that. So I just think in general they have a great feeling about themselves. They come from confidence, which comes from experience success.
What's your strategy with Robert Woods and bring him out slowly? Push it.
Yeah, you know, with Robert, we'll definitely move very slow. I think we know a lot about Robert. We know who he is. We know how he is as a player. We've played him in all three of our receiver spots and in the backfield. So I think it's very rare to have only had a guy really for a year and a half, basically, and him to have done so much. So probably more than anyone on our team outside of maybe Matt. I know he would need to be out there. So we'll go very slow. And I actually thought he would practice today. I know last week, kind of late in the week, just set back a little bit. So we're just very safe. Probably could have done some stuff today.
Do you get a sense that George is really determined to prove himself?
I do. I thought that George was very confident. I thought that he looks great. He looks healthy. He looks strong. He's going after the ball, and I think that just comes from, you know, his confidence. A lot of times, like we talked about last year, that's the norm with all players, even when they're five-star players. You know, the norm is not Marquise Lee and Robert Woods. Those are rare, you know, situations. We talk about every year there's about 5 significant impact true freshmen around the country. And so normally they take a little bit of time to adjust, like George, especially if they're not mid-year.
What did you think how Matt performed today?
I thought, you know, it's pretty easy for Matt, obviously. You know, you can't install a million plays in day one with the other kids. So Matt was fine, just looks like where he left off. And it was not very challenging right now to him. He gets a little bit bored. But what was good, he didn't seem forcing a million balls. You know, I thought at the beginning of last fall camp, he got a little bored in a few of those practices we talked about. He had some interceptions going. And so it was good to see he didn't do much of that today.
What about the other quarterbacks? Max? Cody?
Yeah, I thought Max and Cody threw the ball really well. And, you know, now they look like they've been here for a while. And I think they're both going to be really good players.
How'd your new assistant, how'd you write down today?
Yeah, I thought they fit in really well. Very comfortable. And they're really good teachers and they're confident. So I think that comes out. You know, we spent a lot of time getting ready for this day in meetings and even walkthroughs and stuff. But I think you can see that they're pretty confident. Players seem to really take to them, even special teams as well.
You guys moved Tony Burnett back to safety when Josh was available. Is he going to play corner or something?
Yeah, really with Torrin Harris out, and Brian Bachman wasn't actually cleared until yesterday with an issue, so that really makes it, you know, where one of those guys or both of them, they have to do both. And And so if we were fully healthy, both those guys would be safety. Both Josh and Tony.
Are you going to be a little cautious with the running back because there's such a lack of depth, and Curtis, obviously you want to make sure he doesn't get injured and all that?
Yeah, that is a very scary position for us, to have so little experience and numbers there in general, and really nothing coming to help that very much. So we've got to be careful with Curtis, but continue to develop him because he has some weaknesses in his game that we'd really like to get caught up with the rest of his game.
Do you sense guys itching a little bit to get out there? It's been a while since you guys practiced. No bowl game practices or anything. It's been a long time since you guys have been on the field.
Yeah, I think they were. I think they were kind of, had gone through such a long off season of lifting and running, and to finally be out here with coaches and balls, I think they were really excited.
What do you know about Buck Allen as a possible running back?
Yeah, Buck had an injury in high school. He had a good sophomore year and he got hurt. Partway through his junior year, I believe, is when it was, if I recall right. So to see him full strength now, is going to be exciting. You can't tell very much with the running backs from their pads because there's no holes. You can't really block very well. So it'll be big for him and DJ to see them because we did it in the scrimmage formats.
Wait, what's your philosophy on pro day? They were pretty restrictive across town with that. What's your feeling on who should be there, who should not be there?
I don't really have a feeling. I don't really feel like the pro day is really my pro day. I really feel like it's more for the players that now that I've left here for the NFL. So I really don't. It doesn't bother me very much about sports talent, especially because we're at land. Land's right in the middle of our spring ball. And, I don't think last year I don't think it went out there.
Do you think parents should be able to watch their kids go through that?
Yes, I do.
How much are you keeping up with their progress? You guys are training?
A little bit. They come back. Nick Perry was here today, and Matt came back to see us the other day, and so we'll get reports sometimes from him. I don't sit and watch it, but get the numbers in and stuff.
At some point in time, are you going to move Andre Walker over to the left side to see what it looks like over there?
Don't know that yet. That'll depend as we get pads on how they're both playing. If they're both playing really well where they're at, there'd be no reason to move it.
Did it seem like he was moving better today and a better endurance?
Yeah, he's completely different. I mean, if you were to watch just when we go from stretch drills down to the offensive line drills, he was always the last guy. To look for him today to be last, he was the first guy down there actually. So when you lose 60 pounds, you move a little better too.
How are you going to divide the reps up with the other quarterbacks?
Yeah, right now we're going to split it right down the middle and see how that goes. That may be for a long time or for a little time. We're just going to see how it works out. We're going to do a chance here.
Is Armand going to be able to work tomorrow? Do you know?
I'm not sure about that.
T. Martin, how do you think that they worked out today, working with the receivers?
Really good. I think he brings instant credibility with the guys. I think they really like him. He's very easy to get along with, and so I think that the guys really like being around him. I think they feel themselves getting better already.